Oh, sabotage, sabotage, sabotage. Indiana Fever gets smacked by the LA Sparks by 14 points. Caitlin Clark being sabotaged by this trash-ass head coach, this trash-ass organization. Trade her already. Just trade her. This is garbage, bro. I'm sick of watching this stuff. She was sabotaged today. The most she played was 3 minutes and 10 seconds at one time.
She checked in, she ran the floor 3, maybe 4 times, she launched a shot or 2, and then she was sent to the sideline to pedal away on a stationary bike while a basketball game raged on without her. 3 minutes, maybe 2, never more than 3 minutes and 10 seconds at a stretch. This is what Caitlin Clark's return to the court looked like on a Wednesday night in Los Angeles. Not the triumphant comeback of a generational talent shaking off injury and reminding the world why she changed women's basketball forever. No, this was something else entirely. This was a player who looked like a hostage in her own uniform, inserted into the game just long enough to lose her rhythm, then yanked before she could ever find it. And when the final buzzer sounded on a 106-92 loss to the LA Sparks, the fury was immediate, volcanic, and aimed squarely at the people who were supposed to be building something around her. The question that hung in the air wasn't just about one game or one loss. It was far bigger, far uglier, and far more dangerous for the Indiana Fever. Is the most transformative player in WNBA history being set up to fail by her own organization?
You mean to tell me the bright idea, the huge reveal for the Indiana Fever, the plan for Caitlin Clark is we're going to play her for 2-minute spurts, and then we're going to take her out, and she's going to go sit on the bike for 15 minutes. Then we're going to put her in. She's going to play 2 minutes. Then we're going to take her out. She's going to go sit on the bike again. Like, dog, if this was the plan, just don't play the girl. Just don't play her until she's ready to play them. Caitlin Clark is a rhythm player, which is why she could not make no shots today, because you cannot get a rhythm when you are playing in 2-minute spurts. It's never going to happen, man.
Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark was not happy with the outcome in Wednesday night's 106-92 loss to the Los Angeles Sparks. Clark had missed 2 games because of back issues that flared up June 24 during the Fever's 111-109 loss to Phoenix. This was her first competitive action in 2 weeks, and every Fever fan tuning in expected something, a spark, a flash of the brilliance that had turned a struggling franchise into must-see television. What they got instead was a masterclass in how to neutralize your own franchise player. Clark's first stint on the floor lasted just over 3 minutes as she was subbed out early in the first quarter, with the Fever leading the Sparks 11-5. This was a flashback to a previous substitution pattern Stephanie White used at times earlier in the season to mixed results. Clark logged only 16 minutes against the Sparks, struggling in her short spurts. Let that timeline sink in. The team was up 6 points, Clark was on the floor, there was energy in the building, momentum beginning to build. And then the whistle blew, her number was called, and she walked to the bench while the Fever held a lead they would never recapture in any meaningful way. She played 16 minutes Wednesday, finishing with 9 points on 4 of 12 shooting with 4 rebounds, 3 assists and 4 turnovers. On paper, those are underwhelming numbers. Pedestrian even. The kind of stat line that invites criticism, that gives ammunition to doubters, that makes casual observers wonder if the hype machine was built on something hollow. But those numbers don't exist in a vacuum. They exist inside a context so absurd, so strategically incoherent that it borders on self-destruction. Clark played in shifts of about 3 minutes, then would often leave the bench to keep her back loose. She would check in, barely get her feet under her, touch the ball a handful of times, and then be removed. Between stints, she rode a stationary bike on the sideline, a visual so jarring, so antithetical to what a star athlete should look like during a live game, that it became an instant symbol of everything wrong with the Fever's approach. Imagine being a rhythm player, and Caitlin Clark has always been a rhythm player, dating back to her legendary career at Iowa, and being told to manufacture performance in fragments. Your body doesn't cooperate with that. Your mind doesn't cooperate with that. The neurological processes that govern flow state, that allow an elite athlete to read defenses intuitively, to feel the game's tempo in their bones, to know where teammates will be before they get there. Those processes require time, continuity, and consecutive minutes of engagement. You cannot microwave rhythm. You cannot manufacture flow in a laboratory of 2-minute intervals separated by 13-minute stretches on a bicycle. It is physiologically and psychologically impossible. And yet, that is precisely what the Indiana Fever coaching staff asked their most important player to do.
over it. Pardon the language. I'm done. I'm done. Screw Stephanie White. Screw the Indiana Fever. Screw Amber Cox. Fuck them all. Fuck them all. I don't care. Pack them up. Just trade her already. She's already in Los Angeles. Just finalize the trade. It is clear that you guys don't want her. Y'all are not building a team around her. You guys are building the team around Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell can score the ball. I'm not taking away from Kelsey. She's a ball hog, but she can score. She had 29 today. She picked it up in the second half. She was shooting like 30% in the first half. Second half, she started lighting it up. I'm not taking away from her. Build the team around her and get rid of Caitlin.
Stephanie White explained the reasoning after the game. It's going to take some time to build endurance. She hadn't really been able to practice all that much either. They pressure at 94 feet, so you've got to make sure you're able to withstand that. It's never easy when you're reintegrating after an injury. She's going to continue to be better. On its surface, the explanation sounds reasonable. A player returning from a back injury needs to be managed. Minutes need to be monitored. The long-term health of your franchise cornerstone has to take priority over any single regular season game. Every medical professional in sports would agree with those principles. But the application of those principles is where the Fever's logic crumbles into dust. If the concern was genuine, if the medical staff genuinely believed that Clark could only handle 16 minutes and needed to play in 3-minute bursts with extended rest between stints, then the more logical, more player-friendly, and more basketball-intelligent decision would have been to sit her entirely. Rest her for the Sparks game. Rest her for the Mercury game the next night. Bring her back fully healthy for the Las Vegas game on Sunday with enough recovery time and enough minutes to actually contribute. One Clark has made her disdain for minutes restrictions evident in the past, saying she'd rather not play than play under one. She has said those exact words. She has expressed publicly and clearly that this approach undermines her ability to contribute. She would rather sit out and come back ready than be drip-fed into a game in doses so small they become counterproductive. And yet, here she was doing exactly the thing she said doesn't work, the thing she said she'd rather avoid entirely. The question is, who decided this was the best path and why? Clark herself called out the situation after the game. It's just really hard when you're playing 3 minutes, sub out 3 minutes, then you're on the bench, she said. It's really, really hard to get into a flow. For the most part, I got good looks, some of them went, some of them didn't. I probably didn't get to have a feel for the game as I usually do, like it's just really, really hard for me to play in that scenario, but overall, my body feels great, so that's the positive I can take from today. Read those words carefully. She acknowledged that her body felt fine. The injury wasn't the problem, the restriction was, the method was, the approach of fragmenting her minutes into disconnected slivers of court time was what prevented her from being effective. She wasn't hurt, she was handcuffed.
Kelsey Mitchell thing and let them do their thing. Trade Caitlin Clark, let her stay in Los Angeles. Just get rid of her now. Just get rid of her now. The plan was garbage. The most Caitlin Clark played at one time, the most she played was 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Now, I get it. She's on a minutes restriction. If the minutes restriction was for Caitlin Clark to play 15 minutes, what is the point? What is the point? If she can't play at least 22, 23 minutes, there's no point in playing her. What's the point in playing her 15 minutes? It's no point. It was stupid. And I feel like this is sabotage to minimize her stats. The girl had 9 points today. 9 points and 3 assists. Her stats are about to tumble now.
Meanwhile, on the other end of the floor, the Los Angeles Sparks played like a team that actually wanted to win. The LA Sparks were severely shorthanded, taking the floor without stars Kelsey Plum and Cameron Brink. This wasn't a full-strength Sparks roster rolling into battle with championship aspirations. This was a depleted squad missing 2 of their best players, and they still ran the Fever off the floor. The Sparks frontcourt dominated the paint, with Nneka Ogwumike registering 24 points and 8 rebounds and Derica Hamby putting up 19 and 9. Ray Burrell scored 22, and every Sparks starter was in double figures. Ray Burrell, a player who has been, by any objective measurement, thoroughly average throughout her WNBA career, looked like an all-star. 9 of 15 from the field, 22 points, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. She played with confidence, aggression, and freedom, the exact qualities that Caitlin Clark was denied by her own coaching staff. Burrell didn't achieve those numbers because she suddenly became a different player overnight. She achieved them because the Fever's defense gave her open looks, space to operate, and no sustained resistance. When your best perimeter defender is riding a stationary bike, when your best paint protector is sitting in street clothes, your opponents get comfortable. And comfortable opponents become dangerous opponents. The Fever's starters up front, Monique Billings and Miesha Hines-Allen, combined for only 4 points total. 4 points from your frontcourt starters in a professional basketball game. That is not a competitive effort. That is not a roster capable of withstanding the absence of its two best players simultaneously.
They're trying to lower her stats. This is all sabotage, and it's ridiculous. This was an awful plan by the Indiana Fever. This is what Caitlin Clark did all game. This is what she did all game. She sat on a damn bicycle pedaling all game. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. And then, I mean, she gets benched in the fourth quarter. She gets benched after a turnover. Kelsey Mitchell never gets benched after her turnovers. Ever. This is ridiculous, man. I am done with this team. I am done with this staff. I just want them to blow it up already. She's not even playing tomorrow. Why play her for like, if she's not playing tomorrow, why can't she just play today?
And that brings us to the other baffling decision of the evening. Center Aaliyah Boston, who sat out against the Sparks, will play against the Mercury, White said. White said these were precautionary moves so the two All-Stars who have been dealing with nagging injuries don't have to play on consecutive nights. On paper, this sounds like responsible load management, but strip away the polished language and look at what actually happened. The Fever voluntarily entered a game against the Sparks without their two most important players operating at full capacity. Clark was limited to 16 fractured minutes. Boston didn't play at all. Wednesday, the Fever missed Boston, who is averaging 17.1 points and 8.6 rebounds. Her absence left a gaping hole in the frontcourt that Billings and Hines-Allen couldn't begin to fill. The paint belonged to the Sparks from the opening tip, and the Fever never mounted a serious challenge to reclaim it. The alternating strategy, Clark plays one night, Boston plays the next, might make sense in a spreadsheet. It might satisfy the analytics department. But basketball is not played on spreadsheets. Chemistry is built through shared minutes, through on-court communication, through the repetition of playing together in real game situations under real pressure. Every game where Clark and Boston don't share the floor is a game where the Fever's foundation fails to solidify. And the margins in the WNBA are too thin and the competition too fierce to sacrifice real games for theoretical load management gains.
Organization is backwards. They are upside down. They're a joke. You got blown out. And I already know everybody's about to blame Caitlin Clark for the loss. Everybody's going to be blaming her. I'm already prepared for it. They're going to blame somebody. She was a minus 16. I'm going to hold Caitlin accountable for this. I'm going to hold her accountable for this. She has some late game turnovers that were absolutely, I mean, not late game. She had what? I don't even know how many. She had what, 4 turnovers? 2 of them were her fault. I'll say 2 of them were her fault. Outside of that, I'm not blaming her for 1 of 6 from 3. She's in no rhythm. I'm not blaming her for 4 of 12. This ain't on Caitlin Clark. This is on the damn organization. This is on the head coach. This is on the head coach. Flat out. Flat out, bro. Monique Billings was awful, but she did have 12 rebounds, but she wasn't good. Miesha Hines-Allen played 12 minutes. All zeros across the board, 2 rebounds. Horrible. Lexi Hall, 6 of 13, 14 points. She had a solid game. Kelsey Mitchell, 9 of 18, 5 of 9 from 3, 29 points. She had a good second half. First half, I don't think she was very good.
Perhaps the most damning element of Wednesday night's debacle was the glaring disparity in how different players were treated by the coaching staff. Guard Kelsey Mitchell led Indiana with 29 points, but she said she was unhappy with the Fever's defense, which allowed the Sparks to shoot 51% and top 100 points. Mitchell played 34 minutes. She was given room to operate. She was allowed to play through cold stretches. When she struggled in the first half, shooting poorly, committing turnovers, looking out of sorts, nobody pulled her. Nobody sent her to ride a bike. Nobody fragmented her experience into disconnected 3-minute windows. She was afforded the professional courtesy that every veteran player expects, the opportunity to find her rhythm naturally, to shoot through a slump, to let the game come to her. By the second half, Mitchell was lighting it up. She went 5 of 9 from three-point range. She scored 29 points. She justified the trust that the coaching staff placed in her. Now imagine if Caitlin Clark had been afforded that same trust. Imagine if Clark, instead of being yanked after every 3-minute stint, had been given 25 or 30 minutes of continuous play. Imagine if she'd been allowed to shoot through her early misses, to adjust to the pace, to read the defense, to find her groove. Nobody can say for certain what would have happened, but we know what did happen when she wasn't given that chance. She went 4 of 12. She turned the ball over 4 times. She looked tentative, frustrated, and disconnected from the flow of the game. She was a -16 in plus-minus, and every statistic from that night will follow her in the narratives that commentators and critics construct about her career. The message sent by those contrasting approaches, one player trusted, another restricted, was impossible to miss. Different standards for different players. And the player being held to the higher, harsher standard happened to be the one who had done more for the franchise's visibility, revenue, and cultural relevance than anyone in its history.
I don't care about the 12 points in garbage time. Dantas sucks. Ty Harris sucks. Raven Johnson was 1 of 9 from 3. I mean, 1 of 9 from the floor, 0 for 3 from 3. Raven Johnson stinks. I'm sorry. Y'all keep trying to make reasoning for her and all of this stuff. The girl's not good. Whatever, man. Look at this possession from the Indiana Fever. We had 3 straight bunnies missed. Look at this nonsense. Look at this. Okay, Kelsey Mitchell smokes the layup. Monique Billings misses a layup. Lexi Hall, 4 feet away, misses. I mean, golly, y'all. I mean, damn. Come on, man. This team is terrible. I don't want to watch it. It is what it is. Like, I already know everybody's blaming Caitlin, man. It's unfortunate that she is stuck in an organization that is absolutely sabotaging her. And the one thing I said the Indiana Fever couldn't do was let players who've been average or garbage look like good players. They made Ray Burrell look like Jason Tatum out there. Ray Burrell looked like Jason Tatum. 9 of 15, 22 points, 2 of 3 from 3. She had 22 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. Ariel Atkins finally looked like a good basketball player. She had 12. Erica Wheeler had 12 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. De'Erica Hamby, 21 points, 9 rebounds. Nneka Ogwumike, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. I mean, damn.
What made Wednesday night's game especially infuriating for Fever supporters was that it didn't exist in isolation. The Caitlin Clark-Stephanie White dynamic has continued to make headlines. The superstar guard and the Indiana Fever head coach went viral for their heated argument during the team's 184 loss to the Portland Fire on Saturday. Analyst Jason Whitlock lambasted White while sharing his take on the interaction between Clark and her coach. In an X-post, Whitlock claimed that White and Fever defensive assistant Brian January sabotaged Clark with an early substitution against Portland. Stephanie White and her defensive assistant Brian January sabotaged Caitlin Clark on Saturday. It was intentional, Whitlock wrote. The timing of the first quarter substitution against Portland was one of the biggest issues. Indiana opened with energy. Clark was on the floor. Boston was on the floor. Hull was on the floor. Then all 3 came out and Portland immediately took control. This is the pattern that drives the conspiracy theories, that fuels the sabotage accusations, that makes otherwise rational fans lose their composure on social media. It is a pattern of disruption, of taking Clark out precisely when she is beginning to establish herself, of breaking her rhythm at the moments when she appears most dangerous, of treating her not like a franchise centerpiece but like a rotational piece who needs to earn her minutes through some invisible standard that only the coaching staff understands. Critics completely rejected the idea that the limited minutes were
Caitlin Clark for this. She played 15 minutes. She played in 2-minute spurts. The most the girl played was 3 minutes and 10 seconds at one time. This is sabotage by the head coach. This is sabotage. They intentionally sat Aaliyah Boston out. She could have played today. But this is what happens when you don't respect the game. Stephanie White thought she could play Caitlin Clark 12, 13 minutes and not play Aaliyah Boston at all. And they could just walk in there and beat the Sparks, and they got their ass handed to them. That's what happens when you think you could just show up and beat on somebody. That's what happens. You got to respect the game. The LA Sparks handed you your shit today. And that's what happened. This is embarrassing. This coaching staff is a joke. This organization is a joke. Caitlin Clark, your brand, your reputation is being tainted by this organization, and you need to wake the hell up and see what's going on. You need to get the hell away from these people. You need to get away from here. You need to demand a trade. Where the hell is Aaron Kane? Can you do something for a change? Where the hell are you? Get Caitlin Clark out of this sabotaging organization with this bum of a coach. This is ridiculous. Caitlin Clark is just being sabotaged nonstop, man. I am disgusted. I am disgusted with what I saw today. What says you? Get down in the comments. Let me know what you think. This Keep the Vision.
Strictly due to her recent back injury. They argued that the coach has consistently held Clark back throughout the season, regardless of her health status. Is it sabotage? The word carries enormous weight. It implies intent, malice, a deliberate effort to undermine. To be clear, there is no evidence White is trying to purposely undermine Caitlin Clark. That's an internet theory, not a fact. The sabotage accusation is ridiculous. White is paid to win games and her career depends on it. That is the rational counterargument, and it has merit. No coach deliberately loses games. No coach intentionally handicaps their best player for sport. White's livelihood, her professional reputation, her legacy, all of it is tied to the Fever's success. Undermining Clark would be undermining herself. And yet, something doesn't add up. Something about the pattern of decisions, the bizarre substitution timing, the fragmented minutes, the double standard in how different players are treated defies easy explanation. If it isn't sabotage, then what is it? Perhaps it is stubbornness. Perhaps it is a coaching philosophy so rigid, so committed to its own internal logic that it cannot bend to accommodate the unique demands of an extraordinary player. Perhaps Stephanie White genuinely believes that her system, her rotation patterns, her approach to load management is correct, and that Clark, like everyone else, must operate within those parameters regardless of how poorly they fit her skill set. White and the Fever have a Caitlin Clark problem right now, but it's not because Clark needs to be controlled. It's because Indiana has the most watched player in women's basketball, and the Fever keep giving her fans reasons to wonder whether the franchise knows exactly what to do with her. That might be the most damning assessment of all. Not malice, but incompetence. Not a conspiracy, but a failure of imagination. The Fever have lightning in a bottle, and they keep trying to pour it into a container that's the wrong shape. What makes this situation even more complicated is Clark's own response. After the Portland controversy, Clark said, "Two people being competitive, two people that really want to win. I think a lot of those things happen all of the time, and I know there's a camera on me, and that's how it's gonna be. But there's a lot of people out there in the media or on TV that they think they know a lot of things, but they're just blatantly wrong about a lot of things. And I ride for Steph. I ride for these girls. Steph has my back more than anybody." She defended her coach publicly. She pushed back against the sabotage narrative. She presented a united front. But after the Sparks game, her tone shifted subtly but unmistakably. She didn't accuse anyone of sabotage. She didn't throw anyone under the bus. But she called the situation what it was: hard, really hard, impossible to manage as a rhythm player. She acknowledged the fundamental flaw in the approach without nomming the people responsible for it. That is the tightrope she walks every single night. She cannot publicly criticize her coach without inviting a firestorm of media scrutiny and being labeled a diva, a troublemaker, a player who thinks she's bigger than the team. She cannot stay silent without implicitly endorsing a system that is undermining her effectiveness. She is trapped between loyalty and self-preservation, between professionalism and self-advocacy, between what she knows is right and what she's allowed to say. The implications of this situation extend far beyond Indiana. The WNBA is experiencing a period of unprecedented growth. Ratings are climbing, attendance records are being shattered, merchandise sales are soaring, new expansion teams are launching, media deals are getting larger, and a significant percentage of that growth can be traced directly back to the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. She didn't create the WNBA's rise single-handedly. That narrative is reductive and disrespectful to the many players and advocates who laid the groundwork over decades. But she accelerated it dramatically. She brought eyeballs that weren't there before. She introduced the league to demographics that had never watched women's basketball. She became the entry point for millions of casual fans. Clark, who missed most of the 2025 campaign, has been tremendous when healthy, putting up 21.2 points, 8.2 assists, and 4 rebounds per game. When she plays full minutes, when she is healthy and integrated into a functional system, she is one of the most dynamic, entertaining, and statistically dominant players in the world. She is a highlight machine, a playmaker, a transcendent talent who makes everyone around her better. Every game where she plays 16 minutes in fragmented bursts is a game where that magic is suppressed. Every game where casual fans tune in to watch her and instead see her riding a stationary bike is a game where the WNBA's growth engine sputters. Every game where her stat line reads 9 points on 4 of 12 shooting is a game where the narrative shifts from generational talent to overhyped. The league cannot afford that, the Fever cannot afford that, and Caitlin Clark certainly cannot afford that. So inevitably, the conversation turns to the nuclear option. Should Caitlin Clark demand a trade? Should her agent be making calls? Should the Fever front office recognize that the current dynamic is unsustainable and explore their options? The emotional answer is yes. Get her out. Send her somewhere that will appreciate her, that will build around her, that will give her 35 minutes a night in a system designed to maximize her God-given abilities. Los Angeles would welcome her. New York would welcome her. Las Vegas would welcome her. Seattle would welcome her. Half the league would mortgage its future for the chance to build around Caitlin Clark. But the rational answer is more complicated. The Fever are 12-9. At 12-8 entering the game, Indiana had the highest winning percentage in the WNBA's Eastern Conference. This is not a hopeless franchise drowning in defeat. This is a team with legitimate talent, a viable path to the postseason, and the building blocks of something real. The Fever have made several moves, including re-signing their trio of guards in Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexi Hull. The Fever also selected former South Carolina Gamecocks guard Raven Johnson with the number 10 pick in the first round of the 2026 WNBA draft. The infrastructure exists, the talent is there. Clark and Boston, when healthy and playing together, form a foundation that most franchises can only dream about. Mitchell is a proven scorer, Hull can shoot, the pieces are in place. What's missing isn't talent. What's missing is coaching clarity. What's missing is a system that recognizes what it has and refuses to waste it on rigid adherence to principles that don't serve the personnel. What's missing is the kind of adaptive, player-first coaching that championship organizations require. The trade conversation, while emotionally satisfying, is ultimately premature. The Fever don't need to move Caitlin Clark. They need to move their approach. They need to recognize that managing her in 2-minute fragments isn't protecting her, it's diminishing her. They need to understand that load management only works when it's applied intelligently, with the players' input and buy-in, in a way that doesn't actively sabotage their competitive viability. If they cannot make that adjustment, if the coaching staff remains committed to an approach that consistently undermines Clark's effectiveness and generates controversy, then the trade conversation becomes inevitable. Not because Clark wants to leave, but because staying becomes untenable. Clark sat out the Fever's latest game against the Phoenix Mercury on Thursday as she continues to work her way back to full health. Her next opportunity to play will be on Sunday against the Las Vegas Aces. That game in Las Vegas will be a referendum, not on Clark's talent that has never been in question, but on the Fever's willingness to learn from their mistakes. Will she get 25-plus minutes? Will she be allowed to play through cold stretches? Will she be given the trust and the runway to find her rhythm naturally? Or will we see another round of 3-minute stints, stationary bikes, and post-game press conferences where everyone dances around the obvious? The ideal outcome for the Fever would be a sound win that would allow White to keep Clark's minutes around the 2025 mark. That would give Indiana some flexibility to push Clark past 30 minutes in Las Vegas. That window still exists, but it is narrowing. Every game lost to mismanagement is a game that cannot be recovered. Every controversy generated by bizarre rotation decisions is a distraction that erodes team chemistry and public trust. The Fever sit at a crossroads, and the path they choose will define not just this season, but the franchise's identity for years to come. They have the most transformative player in their sport. They have a fan base that is passionate, engaged, and desperate for a winner. They have a national spotlight that most WNBA franchises would kill for. The only question that remains is whether the Indiana Fever are smart enough, humble enough to get out of their own way. What happened in Los Angeles on that Wednesday night was more than a basketball game. It was a referendum on organizational identity. The Indiana Fever have spent years in the wilderness, struggling for relevance, losing games that didn't matter in arenas that were half empty. Then Caitlin Clark arrived, and everything changed, except apparently the thinking of the people making the decisions. You don't manage a generational talent the way you manage a roster filler. You don't fragment a rhythm player's minutes into disconnected shards and expect magic. You don't sit your two best players simultaneously and act surprised when a short-handed opponent rolls you by 14. Whether you call it sabotage, stubbornness, or sheer incompetence, the result is identical. A franchise wasting the greatest opportunity it has ever been given. Caitlin Clark will not stay patient forever. No superstar does. The clock is ticking in Indiana, and the people holding the stopwatch seem determined to let it run out. The Fever don't have a Caitlin Clark problem. They have a Caitlin Clark gift, and they are dangerously close to returning it unopened.